am honored to have been chosen to present William Japinga for induction into the Kalamazoo College Athletic Hall of Fame. I realize that tonight I have huge shoes to fill. Before telling you about Bill's attributes, I must honestly tell you that I can't remember seeing Bill play a match when he was a member of the Hornet tennis team. Or if I did see him play, I was oblivious to the importance of his matches. He was just the handsome blonde tennis player from Holland, Michigan. And by the way, Bill, did you know there's only 5 years that separate us? No, you could have been my little brother. You see, I was too busy focusing on the care of our very young family, and there were not very many opportunities for me to go down to the Stowe courts. I was really kind of busy feeding little faces and changing diapers. I was not a very good Mrs. Coach in those days. George, however, had a close relationship with Bill from day one at Kalamazoo College. I remember George in conversations with me when he first took the position as tennis coach at K, saying, "This guy Japinga, he's really talented. He's sure going to help the team." As you know, he did. My friendship with Bill came a little later after he completed his postgraduate degrees. Bill's tennis career at K was unique in that during his 4 years, he had 4 different coaches. Dr. Alan B. Stowe was responsible for recognizing the abilities of this young man and bringing him to Kalamazoo College. I am certain, this is my opinion, that had there been a Division III championship tennis tournament during Bill's 4 years at K, he certainly would have won the title, and my husband also concurred with that. Bill's accomplishments are printed in your program, but there are some that deserve to be emphasized. Remember that Bill was the #1 player on the K team in 1959 and 1960. And he was #1 in doubles in 58, 59, and 60. Of significance is the fact that Bill and Les Dotson won the Midwest Regional College Division doubles in 1958, helping K to win the tournament. Now remember, there was no Division III at that time. He and Bob Rice won the doubles in 1959, and with help from Jim Van Zandt, brought the regional trophy home to Kalamazoo. And I know Jim is up there somewhere. He's Jimmy to me. Hi, Jim. In 1960, Bill would have been undefeated at #1 singles, except for 1 loss to Southern Illinois University. That year, the MIAA tournament was being played here at Kalamazoo College. But then the rains came and halted play. Luckily, we had already accumulated enough points to win the conference. However, the archaic rules of the conference at that time stated that there could be no postseason matches. Therefore, the team was barred from competing in the Midwest Regional, which they had already won 2 years in a row. As I looked over Bill's record of wins and losses, I was impressed to see that he had wins over players from schools such as, listen carefully to this list: Tennessee, Harvard, Clemson, Notre Dame, Indiana, North Carolina, Vanderbilt, Iowa, Louisville, and Cincinnati. This, along with all the wins he had in the MIAA, the GLCA, and the MAC. He had quite an impressive record. Coach Affer was very happy when he learned that Bill was selected for the 2011 Athletic Hall of Fame. He was extremely proud of Bill's accomplishments in the field of athletics and academics. George had high respect for Bill as a fellow coach at Hope College. Bill was recognized as an excellent coach due to his team's records and his overall leadership in the MIAA. I would like to share with you a quote from a letter my husband wrote to Bill. "You were one of the toughest competitors I had in my 35 years. Dr. Stowe knew who he was recruiting. I was very proud to have him as a fighting hornet on the team and as a true friend. I'm extremely proud to say that I was your coach at K-Bill. I'm glad you and Day are enjoying life together. That was from a letter. I too was amazed at what Bill accomplished while he was at Kalamazoo College, as well as his achievements following graduation. I am delighted to present Bill as an inductee into the Kalamazoo College Athletic Hall of Fame.
Now you tell him what it was and you see what he put his pretty much true. Second year, Bud Donnie came along to be our coach. He was a graduate student at Western Michigan at the time. He really was only about a year older than any of us, but we really had a very good time, and that was an extremely successful year. I played doubles with Les Dodson that year, and we were able to beat some pretty good teams from the Big Ten, Iowa and Notre Dame, as well as others. And then we, of course, won the MIAA in this NCAA tournament as well. George came along when I was a junior. It's really kind of interesting. I had just gotten back from playing in the Orange Bowl tournament in that year, and I came and met this young man, all enthusiastic about coaching tennis at Kalamazoo, and I thought to myself, George, you have no idea what you're getting into. Our first year schedule was such that I think it was designed for the 1956 team that was undefeated. We went and we played on that trip. We played, we started off with Tennessee, then it was Harvard, then it was Presbyterian, then it was Georgia, and then it was Georgia Tech. When we got back, we played a quadrangular with Iowa, Notre Dame, and Indiana, and I had to play the #1 player from Notre Dame twice, and this was the year in 1959 that Notre Dame won the Big College tournament. So it was quite an experience. George and I have been connected for years. After I finished here in the 70s, when I decided to go into tennis full-time, he supplied me with assistants and interns in my jobs in the Chicago area. He sent Kim Spear along to be an assistant during the summertime, and then the Thompson brothers, Mark, Mike, and Danny came to interns when I had a club and worked for our club in Lake Forest. We had a chance for 10 or 11 years to coach against one another. I'm really happy to be here with these guys from the 86 and 87 teams because we were able to play against them. George and I sort of had an agreement in this time, and so we always decided to play 6 doubles and 12 singles, and that was my way of ensuring that when people read the results in the newspaper the next day, they didn't see Kalamazoo 9, Hope 0, and then Kalamazoo 9, Albion 0, and Kalamazoo 9, Elma 0, all on the same day. And so I really appreciated that, and it gave my kids a chance to play against some pretty good players at the time. Nancy asked me to think about a couple of matches that I thought were really sort of memorable. There were a lot of them, but I thought one of the ones that you might be really interested in is when in 1960 we invited Iowa and Indiana to come to play. It snowed. We managed to play Indiana over at Western, but that was outside. But the next day we had to play Iowa, and it snowed. We had no place to go, so we played on the basketball floor. Fortunately, over the time period, that's the only place we had to practice. And so this Iowa team and this big guy came, and I had to play against somebody who was about 6'6", and you can imagine the serve sliding on that wood and such. But I managed, I think I won 7-5-6 love. I finally I hit the ball straight at him. That's the way it turned out. A second match that probably, in one sense, is the most memorable because it was the only match that I ever lost in the MIAA. That's strange for some of these guys because they've never lost. But when I played, the field day or the conference tournament was such that it was a 32 or better draw, and each team put 5 players in the draw, and then you just played. There were no flights. And so typically 4 people from the Kalamazoo College tennis team were in the semifinals and 2 in the finals, so that we could look at it like it was finally the ultimate challenge match where it actually counted. And I can remember that Saturday morning, I played number 3 that year. Les Dodson was 1 and Mike Beal 2. And so I got to play Mike. I had to sit in a philosophy class from 9 to 10 in my tennis clothes and then run out to that court and play. And I got beat, and so that was fair. But nonetheless, I think the entire school was out there. I've never seen a larger crowd watching that match because that was what they were really interested in, I think, at the time. The last thing that I think that it's worthwhile, really worthwhile saying, is that this award is terrific, but it really is more important that I can say that for my entire life, I've been associated with a tennis team that has never lost a conference tournament, never lost a conference. The conference string is 73 years. I'm 73 years old. And so what really was enjoyable with my coaching career is when parents and prospective tennis players would come and sit in my office and they'd say, "What do you think our prospects are of winning the conference?" And I'd look at them straight in the eye and say, "How old do you think I am?" And there would be that confused look on their face. I say, "Well, the odds are such that it isn't going to happen. We play for second. If we can get to be second, that's our accomplishment." And as you know, George's record is what, 209-1. I do. I was unfortunately there in April of 1962 when it happened. And so you told me that Larry Hicks called him into his office. Told him that we don't do things like that here. So, thank you for you guys for keeping this going. I was lucky enough to come here for the 50th anniversary. We filled Wells Hall with players from the past, and in 2 years I hope we can come when it's 75. I'm not sure I'll make it 200, but I would very much like it to be at least 75 years. And each year that builds, it's more of an honor and more of a pride to be a member of this group. Thank you.